On the day she thought her life was finally changing, the richest billionaire in the city smiled at her in front of hundreds of guests and asked her to marry him. Everyone applauded, believing it was a fairy tale. But only she knew the cruel truth hidden behind his smile. She wasn't becoming his wife because he loved her. She was becoming his wife because he wanted revenge against someone else. Humiliated, heartbroken, and trapped, she accepted the marriage, never imagining that one day the man who destroyed her dignity would fall hopelessly in love with the woman he once treated as nothing. She had worked as a maid in the billionaire's mansion for 3 years. Every morning she cleaned marble floors before sunrise, served breakfast without making a sound, and disappeared before the wealthy guests noticed her presence. Despite earning very little, she never complained because every paycheck helped pay for her sick mother's medicine. Her kindness made the other workers admire her, but the billionaire barely knew her name. One evening, the billionaire overheard a businessman insulting him during a private party. The man proudly claimed that no wealthy woman would ever truly love him because of his cold heart. Furious and desperate to prove everyone wrong, the billionaire made a shocking decision. Instead of marrying someone from high society, he announced that he would marry his own maid. His goal was not love. He wanted to humiliate both her and the people who questioned him. The announcement spread across the city within hours. News reporters surrounded the mansion, calling it the most unbelievable wedding of the decade. Guests whispered that the poor maid was simply another toy in the billionaire's dangerous game. She stood frozen in disbelief as expensive cameras flashed in her face. She wanted to refuse, but her mother's hospital bills had become impossible to pay. The wedding looked perfect from the outside. White roses covered the grand hall, crystal chandeliers sparkled above the guests, and musicians played beautiful melodies. But behind every smile stood unbearable pain. During the ceremony, the billionaire leaned close and quietly warned her never to believe she was truly his wife. Those words shattered her heart, yet she silently wiped away her tears and completed the vows. After moving into the mansion as his wife, nothing changed except her title. She still woke before sunrise, prepared his breakfast, cleaned the house, and ate every meal alone. The servants felt sorry for her, but nobody dared challenge the billionaire. Every lonely night she reminded herself that kindness was stronger than hatred, even when life seemed completely unfair. The billionaire's younger sister noticed something unusual. Unlike everyone else in the mansion, the maid-turned-wife never complained. Even after being insulted, she greeted every servant with kindness and quietly helped anyone in need. Her gentle heart slowly earned the respect of everyone except the man who had married her for revenge. One rainy afternoon, the billionaire returned home soaked after a difficult business meeting. Without saying a word, she prepared hot tea, placed medicine on the table, and left before he could thank her. He stared at the untouched cup, confused. No one had ever cared for him without expecting something in return. Days later, his biggest business rival secretly approached her with an offer. If she would reveal confidential information about her husband's company, she would receive enough money to pay for her mother's treatment forever. Tears filled her eyes, but she refused immediately. "My dignity is not for sale," she answered before walking away. The rivals secretly recorded her refusal and anonymously sent the video to the billionaire. Watching the footage left him speechless. For the first time, he realized the woman he had humiliated possessed more honor than many wealthy people he trusted. His attitude slowly began to change. Instead of cold silence, he occasionally asked whether she had eaten or needed anything. She answered politely but never allowed herself to believe his kindness was real. The pain he had caused still lived deep inside her heart. One evening, they attended a charity gala together. Wealthy guests mocked her humble background behind fake smiles. Before she could respond, the billionaire stood beside her and proudly introduced her as his wife. The room fell silent. She was shocked, but the sadness in her eyes remained. That night, he found an old notebook hidden inside her room. It contained letters she had written to her late father. Every page spoke about hope, forgiveness, and becoming someone who never hated others despite life's cruelty. Reading those words made him ashamed of the man he had become. The following morning, he secretly visited the hospital where her mother was receiving treatment. He quietly paid every medical bill without leaving his name. When she later discovered the debt had disappeared, she thanked God, never knowing who had helped her. His closest friend noticed the change immediately. The arrogant billionaire who once laughed at love now spent his evenings wondering whether his wife had smiled that day. He could no longer focus during meetings because thoughts of her gentle heart filled his mind. One afternoon, she collapsed while working in the garden after skipping meals to save money for medicine. Panicked, he rushed her to the hospital himself. Sitting beside her unconscious body, fear gripped his heart for the first time in years. When she opened her eyes, he apologized for the first time since they had met. His voice trembled with regret, but she quietly thanked him without accepting the apology. Some wounds heal slowly, no matter how sincere the regret becomes. Determined to become a better man, he began treating every employee with respect. Workers who once feared him started smiling again. The mansion slowly transformed into a home filled with kindness instead of silence. His business rival refused to give up. Hoping to destroy their marriage, he spread false rumors that she had secretly stolen millions from the company. Newspapers published the accusations, and social media exploded with hateful comments against her. Although the evidence looked convincing, the billionaire refused to believe the lies. Instead of abandoning her, he hired investigators to uncover the truth. Everyone questioned his decision, but he trusted her heart more than the fake documents. Days later, security footage exposed the real criminal. The rival had created the entire scandal to ruin both of them. Public opinion changed overnight. The same people who mocked her now praised her honesty and courage. Ashamed of everything he had done, the billionaire organized a press conference. Standing before hundreds of reporters, he admitted that he had married her only to humiliate her. He confessed every cruel mistake and publicly asked for her forgiveness. The entire nation watched in silence. She never expected such honesty from the man who once broke her heart. Tears rolled down her face, but forgiveness still felt impossible. Trust, once destroyed, cannot return with words alone. Weeks passed as he patiently proved his love through actions instead of promises. He spent time with her mother, volunteered at charities she supported, and quietly helped struggling families without seeking attention. His heart was no longer driven by pride but by compassion. One evening, she visited the small park where they had first spoken after the wedding. He was waiting there with no expensive gifts, no cameras, and no grand speeches. Only a single white flower rested in his trembling hands. "I don't deserve your love," he whispered. "But I want to spend the rest of my life earning your trust, one day at a time." For the first time, she saw not a billionaire standing before her, but a man who had truly changed. She gently accepted the flower. It was not a promise that every painful memory had disappeared, but it was the beginning of healing. Love built on honesty would always be stronger than love built on wealth. Months later, they transformed part of their fortune into a foundation that provided education, housing, and medical care for poor families. Every person they helped reminded them how powerful compassion could become when pride was replaced by kindness. The mansion that once echoed with loneliness became filled with laughter. Servants were treated like family, children visited through charity programs, and every meal was shared together. Wealth no longer measured success. Love did. Years later, when people asked how their unbelievable marriage survived, they smiled at each other. Their story had never been about riches or revenge. It had been about the courage to change, the strength to forgive, and the choice to become better than yesterday. Moral: true love cannot be forced with money, power, or pride. Respect, kindness, honesty, and sincere change are what heal broken hearts. A person who learns from their mistakes can transform not only their own life but also the lives of everyone around them.